Hello and welcome to the Agenda on Politics Social. I'm joined, as always, by Phil Moorhouse. How you doing, Phil? You all right?
I'm all right, thank you, yes.
Goody, goody. If I can press the button, I'm Graham Hughes. Yay, it worked. So I just want to say a big shout out to Martin Harrow and Liam Fairhurst and Dark 4x4, The Vendetta, Diz, Paul Spicer, Mark Burton. We've got Liam in there. We've got Katerina, even. Katrina. We've got Tripod 9000. Listen, if you want to join our friends in the chat and become a new friend, all you need to do is hit the big, lovely subscribe button and wait for 1 minute and you will be able to join us. Anyway, Phil, so they're going to let kids vote? They're going to let the bloody little kids vote now in the elections.
Well, the thing about that is, so in terms of the elections bill as was announced yesterday, by far the most impactful part of it was banning foreign donations.
Yes.
And yet, literally every news front page carries the thing about 16-year-olds, which was not only known because it was in the manifesto and indeed has been Labour policy for at least 15 years.
Wow.
But the reason is because, of course, votes at 16 is controversial. Clamping down on foreign donations is not controversial, which is, again, why Labour need to up their comms. Because if they're going to announce something that's broadly popular, the media aren't going to tell people because it's not controversial.
Yeah.
But yeah, 16, I mean, it's been Labour's policy for a very long time. It was in Gordon Brown's manifesto. Yeah. It has never really shifted from it, as far as I can tell.
No, that's true. And on the foreign donation thing, it's going to be capped at 500,000, is it? Is that, or is that the fine?
No, 500,000 is the fine.
The fine.
If you break it. No foreign donations at all, not a penny.
No foreign donations.
I mean, they'll probably be able to get away with a few hundred because you don't have to declare it up until something like £500.
Okay, so what if Refug set up a crowdfunder and they say the maximum donation is 50 quid and they get a bunch of people from Russia to give them £500,000?
So what they have to do is carry out due diligence to make sure that, because the cumulative amount, if it was a lot of money, would be quite a lot. If it was suspected that's what they were doing, the Electoral Commission could investigate and fine them £500,000. But generally speaking, you don't have to investigate too much unless it's very large ones. But the parties themselves will have a duty to do due diligence on the people donating to them.
Right.
But £50 ones, yes, things like that are a bit dodgy, which is why, I would agree with some Labour MPs who want them to ban cryptocurrency being used in donations.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can't think of any good reason for anyone to want to donate with crypto. Yeah. But we know it covers up money laundering.
I couldn't agree more. There was an interesting story on Sky News, just to go back to the 16 and 17-year-olds voting. There's an interesting story where they were like, we polled 16 and 17-year-olds, and they said they didn't want the vote. And I'm like, you do know that they would be able to vote in the next election anyway, because by then they will be 18, and that's how time works.
Yeah, but also if you're saying, we found some, because all they found is some, right?
Yeah.
They found some 16, 17-year-olds who don't want the vote. Well, don't vote then.
Don't vote. Yeah.
It's not compulsory. I mean, I know you're not. I would be happy with compulsory voting, but we don't have compulsory voting. No one's planning on it. So it's like, if you don't want to vote, don't vote.
Well, exactly.
But what about the people?
But then
who
if you had
compulsory
voting, you wouldn't be able to say that, Phil. So you're going back on yourself there, I think. For saying, because you would quite like
at the moment, the argument is the here and now. The argument about this particular piece of legislation, the people who don't want the vote, it doesn't affect them. Don't vote then.
Yeah, don't vote. Very simple. SG, thank you very much for your vote of confidence in us by slipping us a £5. Thank you very much for the super chat. Won't they just set up a UK company and channel funds through there?
Right. No. So there's something I'm not allowed to say. Right.
Oh, is there?
I was given advance notice.
The C word?
No. I actually don't know what that is. The one that first comes to mind, no. But so Labour basically got the press round, as they do, on Wednesday. Real company.
I just lost internet. How did you know it was buffering? Are you watching it on live feed?
I'm watching it. Obviously, it's delayed, but it's. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry about the buffering there, everyone. Someone at Vodafone unplugged the internet.
Say I know about super injunction. No, there's no injunction or anything like that. But obviously, if I betray confidence, you don't get brought into that confidence again to know other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it will be announced. It'll be announced later on when the bill comes in. They're just still wanting to work on one bit of it.
What has been announced is on the BBC website, so I can say this. Under the plans, political parties would have to assess companies they receive donations from.
Yeah.
Companies would have to make sufficient income in the UK or Ireland to donate. The government said its proposal will close loopholes that mean a new company registered only recently without even a single day of trade owned by anyone could still donate to a political party.
Yeah, won't work.
So they're getting rid of that. The Lib Dems welcomed votes at 16 as a no-brainer. However, is this going to be good for Labour? This is what I want to get into. Will it be a good thing for Labour?
It is, because even if I was doing my stream earlier today. So if you look at the latest YouGov polling, which remember has Labour pretty down in the dumps. Even then, if you look at 18 to 24-year-olds, obviously we don't. It's actually interesting. I would have thought polling companies would have already been polling 16, 17-year-olds because it was in the manifesto they were going to get the vote. And these are voting intention polls. They're just for general elections.
Yeah.
The next general election, 16, 17, they knew they were going to get a vote. So I don't actually know why polling companies are not already including them. But they should start to include them. But at the moment, all we have is 18 to 24-year-olds. So even at the moment, with Reform UK riding high and Labour not, Labour attracts most of the votes on 28%, Reform UK are on 8%. Reform UK are on less than the Tories.
Yeah.
It's this idea that Reform UK attracts lots of young lads particular, it's actually a myth, right? It is a complete myth. It's put out there deliberately by the media who will, do you know, like you were saying, somewhat Sky News had gone round and they'd found some kids that had wanted, they didn't want the vote and some who did. And they'll have presented it as if it's evenly split or something. Yeah. But they could have easily just found a load of kids and then chosen like 3 who wanted it and 3 who didn't and made it look like it's split because they can edit it how they like, right? It's not a random sample. The same thing happens with the media. They keep presenting young people who do support Reform UK and giving the impression he's appealing to young people. But I'll say 2 things to that. First of all, yes, there are pockets of the country where Reform UK's presence is strong and they will get a higher proportion of younger voters supporting them as well, but not in a greater proportion than the older voters. Yeah. The second thing to note is support doesn't always translate into votes. Jeremy Corbyn was very popular amongst young people. I mean, that was undoubted. Young people were very enthused by a lot of his policies, right? Yeah. They didn't turn out and vote. They didn't vote. They voted in roughly the same proportion they always have been. They did.
He was the most perfect man who ever lived.
He might well have been, but it didn't translate into any votes.
Leave Jezebel alone.
I'm not saying anything against him in this particular case. I'm just saying that he had a lot of that support and it didn't translate into votes. So, if you've got a load of young lads, Reform, they'll do us for us. It's like, don't mean to say that's how they're going to vote. Some of those people, do you know what? The people Reform UK attract are the people who are put off by politics. They're probably the ones who are less likely to vote anyway. Yeah. Only about half of young people vote. That's why it's always, when I always say not enough young people vote, it's not like it's a tiny number of young people who vote. It's about half, which, sometimes it's a bit over half. Yeah. But it's just you get about 75 to 80% of old people voting. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, look anyway, in any case, young people don't vote in the numbers that older people vote. No. End of. So, I mean, but I think this will have an effect. If we had this in place 10 years ago, when the Brexit referendum rolled around, Remain would have won.
Done then. It may have done, because that was really close. I mean, in terms of the impact, because there's a lot of belly aching about it. There's been some on the front pages. You've got a whole range of views expressed. Some of them see it for what it is. It will be a boost to Labour, but it's not, because you've only got so many 16, 17-year-olds, and because they're probably not going to vote in huge numbers. Yeah. Unless the novelty turns a load out, then It's not going to make a difference to the overall election. It might make a difference in the sort of elections where you might need a recount. Okay, there it could maybe have an effect. In terms of how it's likely to work, though, I mean, what this polling that we have at the moment, the polling we have at the moment misses two bits of information out. The first is specifically how 16 and 17-year-olds vote. But again, like you said about time, the 16 and 17-year-olds now, I mean, the election's at least 3 years away, could be 4.
Yeah.
So really, it's 12-year-olds, 12 and 13-year-olds who are going to be the ones who will benefit from this,
yeah.
and 14-year-olds at the moment. Whereas, but also, you know, this party that Corbyn and Sultana are supposed to be doing, and that Diane Abbott has clearly got herself kicked out of Labour to join as well.
Do you think that's the case? Do you think that's...
Oh, so the timing's so obvious. Why didn't she
just leave then?
Why would you... Why? Because she wants to be a victim. She wants to be the victim.
I want to talk about this. This is going to be our next topic of discussion, is about Diane Abbott and...
But
what's
the
she
Corbyn party could easily gain a load of votes here. So they, you know, but again, would they gain, because we have a first past the post system, it doesn't matter how many votes you gain, it matters who gains the most. So if Labour get 25% of the votes of young people, and the nearest party in terms of the votes of those young people gets like 24%, it's still a net gain to Labour, because they've gained a net gain of 1% of this new cohort of voters. So,
the thing is, like MAGA, the Corbyn party would be nothing without Corbyn. And he's not even sold on the idea. True. And he's going to be 80. No, he's going to be 80 years old in the next election.
Yeah. He was very much bounced into it looking at those WhatsApps. He really didn't seem to be keen on it at all. No, because I think he wants to retire. He's going to be 80 years old. Let the guy enjoy his retirement. I don't know why, when he stepped down as Labour leader, because he has other projects, not like he would just go back to his allotment. I don't know why he didn't just get involved in those other projects he does anyway. I really don't see why he wanted to even hang on. He's already got a really nice pension, and you know, he has other projects. Why did he just do that? Yeah. But anyway, he can do what he likes. At the end of the day, if the Corbyn party causes a major problem for Labour, the problem is the electoral system, not the Corbyn party.
Yeah.
What I will keep saying.
Yeah. Colin's saying Corbyn drove a lot of people to vote Tory.
We told them to. Literally told them
F off and join the Tories. I heard that a lot when I was protesting against the flagship Tory policy of Brexit. How insulting is that? You're out on the streets. Really weird one, wasn't it? Again. Don't know what the hell's going on with my system here. You're out on the streets, rain, hail or shine, and you're protesting the flagship Tory policy.
Yeah.
And you're being screamed at, go fuck off and join the Tories. And I'm like... It was literally,
if you hate this Tory policy so much, why don't you join them?
Yeah.
Are you real? But these people are not real. They're not real.
No.
It's doublethink. It's incredibly tribal behaviour that gets people to say mad shit.
Yeah. Mark is saying, will Corbyn go for mayor of London, maybe? He's going to be 80 years old. He'll be 80. I think there should be a maximum age you can be a politician.
I don't. Again, you know...
We've got it for the House of Lords.
I'm really big on democracy, abolishing the House of Lords. It would be top trolling if we went into the House of Lords just before we abolished it. That being said, it's in the manifesto, we're abolishing it. Not this Parliament, not this session, not this Parliament rather. But there's nothing mentioned in the election bill to move towards it. Labour have to start working out...
What? Sorry.
Abolishing the House of Lords.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that they've already said that if you're over 80, you can't be in the next Parliament, can you? So if Corbyn is made a peer, he won't be able to do anything.
He can have one session.
Well, if it happens before he's 80. It depends when the election is.
I can't remember what the rule is now. But anyway, it makes no difference. He don't want to go to the House of Lords anyway, does he? He doesn't approve of it. I don't approve of it.
Well, he doesn't approve of the Queen. Well, he didn't approve of the Queen. He still said all the things he had to say in order to be leader of the opposition. I mean, there's certain things you have to do if you want to try and win any votes, but you don't have to support the House of Lords to win votes. Yeah.
Is it the Green? No, not the Green. They do have MPs. Is it SNP that don't have any MP, any peers? They don't
Do they
send
not?
their members to the House of Lords.
Well, Sinn Féin don't.
Or Sinn Féin would be like that. But I don't think the SNP do, correct me if I'm wrong, and I think that is out of like objection. It's like in something then retweeting it, isn't it? You know, she's said, I lied about my apology.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get suspended for the original offence and then you apologise, you get back in, and then you go and then say it again anyway, you know, you're not exactly a good faith actor, are you? And it would look ridiculous to not suspend her. She did it deliberately. It's done deliberately because she knew, first of all, Labour were in a suspending mood, I suspect. Yeah. I don't know. The rest of it was folly. But I don't really see what Labour could have done. I mean, they could have just ignored it, I guess. They could have just said, oh, she just causing trouble. They could have done that, I guess. And says, oh, she's just, you know, she's just upset. But she's did it to get herself suspended. Yeah. There was no other reason for coming out and saying, oh, that apology I gave was fake. There was no other reason for her saying I lied last year. I'm
really sorry that we had to drop out again while Phil was talking there. I just ran a speed test and we're on 475.7 megabits download and 53.3 megabits upload. So really, we shouldn't be having any problems. I don't know what keeps disconnecting us. I have a wired connection to the internet, straight to the box here. I don't know why it's throwing us off. I apologise profusely for that. But yes, so Diane Abbott, that's one MP. Okay, fair enough. But it's quite interesting what happened this week with the 4 MPs that they decided to suspend for voting against the government on the benefit bill. So let's get into this. They couldn't suspend 50, well, what was it, 52 of them or 47 of them who voted against?
47, I think.
Right.
But that's not the stated reason why they've been suspended. I suspect it is the reason why they've been suspended. But that's
was it shithousery or something, or dickheadedness or something?
They've been suspended. The official reason is because they are continually voting against the government. Now, here's the thing about that. Yes, and they have no reason to complain, but at the same time, every party has its rebels, and the best thing to do is not give them oxygen. Labour are doing this as an attempt to reassert authority. This does the opposite. It makes you look, first of all,
petty.
It does make you look petty, but also that you haven't got control. Your authority is established with stability. Being stable, being calm, that is authoritative. So, you know, removing the whip, sometimes you have to do it, like sometimes like you've done something really bad, like punched a constituent. So of course you're going to have to remove the whip for some things. And sometimes rebelling on something major will get that as well. But something like, just like, you don't just take the whips off your serial rebels, it's just silly. It's the same thing as if there's talk about him having a reshuffle, not because he feels it's time to have a reshuffle, but to reassert his authority. It does the opposite. If you change a minister, everything that previous minister was doing stops. Yeah. The new minister takes ages to get up to speed. So literally, you're hobbling that department. So unless you're doing it for the reason that you're not happy with the current minister, and it is understandable, at some point this parliament you would have expected a major reshuffle, because Labour more than doubled their number of MPs. Yeah. And obviously the first load of ministers were mostly going to be older MPs who were more experienced. You weren't going to put too many new people into it. Yeah. Whereas some of those newer ones will be proving themselves now quite competent. So but doing it for the reason of reasserting your authority does the opposite, because it's change. Authority is stability. It's like saying, I knew what I was doing from the start, and that's why I'm carrying on doing what I'm doing. That's authority.
Even when that probably would be better for things to change.
No, if you make a mistake, you change. If you make a mistake, you change. Yeah. But by and large...
Yeah, what you're saying is, if you're trying to stamp your authority on something, the worst thing you can possibly do is make it look like you've made a mistake.
You don't invite chaos.
Yeah. But the other thing is, I was thinking about this, there's other sanctions you can put on backbench MPs. You don't have to suspend the whip. There are things up to suspending the whip that you can do to them.
Yeah, usually the whips like squeeze their ghoulies a bit.
Well, metaphorically.
They're not supposed to.
Yeah.
No, they do it deliberately. They're not supposed to. There has been cases.
Yeah.
Housing, it's not allowed.
But when it comes to sort of promotions and being involved in select committees, and especially now Labour are in government, the possibility of being promoted to be a junior minister or something like that, like that'll be taken away from them. So there was some sort of soft power moves that they could make.
There are,
that aren't
and
as dramatic as taking the whip off them.
That would work for most of them, and not just that, but also, attention being paid to their constituent. There's like 1,000 new community centres coming for 2027. Well, it is, but also in this case, it's justified. This is why it worked. Like pork barrel politics was really obvious with the Tories, whereas it makes sense with Labour. Where do you want to put most of your funding, levelling up funding? We're in the most deprived areas, which just so happens to be key Labour reform battlegrounds. But you can still, you're talking about 1,000 of these community centres for 2027, so in the next couple of years. Well, there were like 5,500 Sure Start centres. By the end, they didn't do them straight away. It took a long time. It took like a decade. But there was 5,500. So there's, this is an initial 1,000.
Yeah.
There's going to be some ministerial discretion over where they go.
Yeah.
So, there's all sorts of things you can use, because in terms of the promise of promotion and so on, things like that, there are some serial backbenchers. I probably would have been a serial backbencher, if I'm honest. I wouldn't have been fobbed off by anything like that, because I'm not sure I'd have wanted to be a minister.
Yeah.
But again, you have to accept you have rebels. You have to accept that.
Just like the Empire needs to accept the Rebel Alliance.
Well, we don't have Sith powers, but no, you have to accept you've got your rebels. And the worst thing you can do, like I was talking about this on my stream for my members, private stream on Wednesday, and there's someone saying, I only recognise one of the names. So all they've done is made 3 other MPs famous, and the other one wasn't. Rachel Maskell was the most well-known one. She wasn't that famous.
They're just prolonging the story that everyone had kind of forgotten about, because the news cycle is just mad at the moment.
Yeah.
Chris C, talking about the news cycle being mad, and also bringing us on to the next subject that we were literally going to just start talking about. Breaking news, Ofwat is to be abolished following a government review into its effectiveness to regulate water companies. This is a story that's in The Guardian right now. It was just published a few minutes ago. Watchdog has faced intense criticism over sewage spills, shareholder payouts, and ballooning debt. Thank you so much for the super chat, Chris, and also thank you for pointing this out to us. I love it when we have a bit of breaking news on the show, especially when it segues nicely into what we're going to talk about anyway. Report out today that the amount of pollutants put into the water in this country has gone up. Serious pollutants gone up like 60% last year.
There's a sense in which the next year's results should look a lot better, because Labour's legislation on water companies went through quite quickly. So that was passed in beginning of spring, I think.
Yeah.
It was before the tax year. It was like February, March time. So, and that required from April for water companies to put a plan in place for tackling pollution. So in a way, although it's never a good thing, you can't ever say it's a good thing that the pollution went up that much just in the last year. It does mean nonetheless that the amount by which it should come down when they next report on this next year should be quite impressive.
Yeah. So there's going to be a review into the whole water industry in this country, the largest review of the sector since Thatcher privatised it in the is it 1989?
Something like that.
So, I mean, what they've been up to is so amazingly grim. They've put nothing into development, into new science, new technology, into new sewage systems, into new reservoirs, and they have siphoned billions out to pay for shareholders,
And what they've done, like at the moment, in my, I think my area was the first area, Yorkshire Water, to impose a hosepipe ban. We don't know when it's going to end, by the way. And the reason for it is going, the reservoir's a bit low. Would these be the reservoirs you didn't build any of for 35 years?
Yeah. So there's a consultation which is going to be announced next week into creating a new regulator to coincide with the results of this review that's been done into the water industry, directed by former Bank of England Deputy Governor John Cunliffe. And this consultation is likely to conclude in the abolishment of Ofwat, the embattled watchdog that polices.
It's a reform, really, isn't it? Because you're going to have a regulator. They're just going to presumably change the name. and it'll be different people. So they could have just, I suppose, have reformed Ofwat. They either feel that just for the public's point of view, it's better just to have a full rebrand, or maybe they actually just feel it is administratively easier to get rid of Ofwat and just replace it with a new one from the ground up.
Yeah. Fergal Sharkey of the Undertones has said the bonfire of quangos in the industry needs to go further. We need remedial and radical action, and we demand it now.
I mean, you're going to have a regulator, and it's not going to get rid of.
No, but they need one that's not corrupt.
Yeah, but he's talking about that getting rid of quangos. I mean, it's like, you need them. You need oversight over things, and that's the job of the quango. You can't just have the government marking its own homework as such.
Well, no, but
you do need ones who understand. Basically, what you need is an Ofwat where they're lobbying for the customers, not the water companies.
Yeah, exactly. On our side, yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, it's like when we have these COP meetings every year, and it's basically just a meeting of all the oil companies. Okay, the fossil fuel the lot turn up to do deals with each other. Business Cat is saying Ofcom should be next, and I agree with that. Now, we've talked about this before, about how difficult it would be for the government just to renationalise the water companies immediately tomorrow. However, with a much stronger regulator, with a much bigger fines coming in for these people, these companies that pollute the water, is there a way that the Labour government could possibly bring this stuff under public control by the end of this Parliament, just because the companies that run it won't be able to run them as a profit anymore, will have to declare bankruptcy, and then they have to deal with the creditors? We don't.
The problem is not the money that's needed to nationalise, it's the money that's then needed to spend on the companies providing all of this infrastructure building, which we haven't had for 35 years. So you'll say to yourself, well, that's been paid out of bills. It is, but over time. So what you have to do is you have to borrow the money to build it first. So you have to borrow. So if the government can't borrow anymore, it's already like the economy is absolutely knackered. They borrowed a lot. Rachel Reeves borrowed loads. She can't borrow anymore. So you'd have to cut, right? You can't just say, well, tax more, because you wouldn't be able to do it for enough. Whereas if you have, and this is the thing that appeals to me at the moment, if you have like Welsh Water, so Welsh Water isn't nationalised, but it's also not run for profit. It's a not-for-profit company. So there's no profit in it. But because it's a private company, it can borrow commercially.
Yeah.
So what you could do, if you change them instead to not, so if what you did is sort of took them off the established companies for nothing, we don't want to pay anything for it, but then you handed them over to a not-for-profit company, that not-for-profit can borrow for the investment, just like the government can, only it won't count for the national debt and it won't be attached to bond yields or anything like that. So it borrows commercially, and then, yes, the customer still paying, but the customer will pay for that borrowing regardless of who owns it.
Yeah, that's Thatcher's fault, isn't it?
And you remove the profits, but there will be no profits.
Yeah.
So all the customer will be paying for is the cost of the investment and the cost of running the company.
Not for a bigger yacht for someone in Canada who has a massive share portfolio.
And the executives will therefore have to be focused on the service, not the profit, because there will be no profit. They will have to keep within a budget, so it's not that they won't focus on the finances, but all they have to do is keep to budget, and they'll have done their financial job. After that, they will focus on the service. So that's my preference at the moment, not for profit, because then it allows you to borrow commercially, because the government cannot borrow anymore.
SG, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. There was a revolving door between the heads of water companies and top people in Ofwat. Rams fan YT is saying need to do the same with Ofsted and Ofgem. I don't disagree. I really don't disagree.
I mean, at least with Ofsted, there's no profit part of it. The problem with Ofsted mostly is not, actually, I'll be fair to the Tories. In the last few years, they did actually make some improvements, but it has the wrong focus. They talk about Ofsted as driving up standards in education. It's like, no. It's called the Office for Standards in Education. Ofsted cannot possibly do that. The Department for Education should do that. What Ofsted should do is go, look, the government have got some regulations. It just should be their job to go in and check that schools are doing what the government's telling them to do.
Yeah.
The government should drive up standards in education. They just need to know that when they tell schools to do a thing or colleges to do a thing, that they do it and don't go, oh yeah, we'll totally get onto it, Bridget, don't you worry, and then do their own thing, like I used to do. But so, you know, and that's why also, like the biggest reform I would bring to Ofsted is I would make them go into private schools. Now, private schools don't have to teach the national curriculum, so you get rid of that, but you do it from a safeguarding point of view. There's plenty that Ofsted do on safeguarding. So they should be sent in for safeguarding.
Yep, because private schools are notorious for abusing their students.
Exactly.
Notorious. Also, no Ofsted. Don't have to pay any corporation tax. Their charities don't, you know. They get match funding for any charitable contribution. So if one of the richest people in Britain gives £500,000 to his old school, we have to top that up.
Yeah.
Out of our taxes. Nice. And also, you don't have to be qualified to be a teacher to work there, which I just find... I mean, you're a former teacher. I don't know how you feel about it, but I just find that abhorrent. It's like a piss take.
In some colleges you don't anyway, because like in an FE college where you're teaching something like, mechanics, car mechanics, you tend to get someone who works as a car mechanic and then may not be a qualified teacher. But for academic subjects, you probably should be qualified. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should. But the Tories didn't like that idea. Kemi Badenoch was saying, "Oh, they want to stop Olympic athletes from teaching in schools," and I'm like pretty sure they're not going to be teaching the comp down the road, love.
No, but also even if they were, let's say they wanted to, some might want to
do a PGC.
I mean, I was doing my PGC with some people who were very wealthy. You know, I was doing it with some millionaires who like were in their 50s and decided to give a bit back, right? So you do get the odd one, but you just do your teacher qualification. You can do it alongside. You can actually do training and teaching on the job.
Just to go back to what we were talking about with the water thing, Russell Cannons asked, what would that commercial borrowing be? Sorry?
Oh, is that someone in the chat?
Yeah. That commercial borrowing be what would that commercial borrowing be secured on though? They wouldn't have assets that could be repossessed if they default.
Yeah.
And repossessing your sewage treatment plant.
The company will have assets, but the trick is, the thing about a public utility is why would they have to default on it? Because you have guaranteed income.
Yeah.
This isn't like a private business in the normal sense where you might suddenly get no customers.
Well, so long as they're not allowed to just borrow billions.
Guaranteed customers.
Yeah.
You've got guaranteed customers and the bills are set to make sure that company can actually cover its costs.
Yeah.
So there is zero reason for it to ever default on a loan. In fact, banks should be falling over themselves to lend for something like this because it's a company that's got guaranteed customers and guaranteed income.
Yeah.
It's why actually sometimes you say with mortgages why it's harder to get a mortgage in later life but it shouldn't be, because when you're later in life, when you're a pensioner, you've then got a guaranteed income. Yeah. So whereas when you're younger, you could lose your job. So it's sometimes considered weird. Why can't you get a mortgage or as easily when you're older, when you're more likely to have a guaranteed income?
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, that's what it is.
Indeed. There's so much that needs to be done in our water system. One of the big problems that we have is we don't have a separated system for sewage and grey water. So all your shit and all the rainwater and all your dishwater and all your shower water goes into the same pipes or the same tunnels underground. Because it's Victorian. It was put together.
Is what causes the legal need to dump sewage sometimes, because sometimes it just floods.
There's just too much water in those pipes. Now, making a system, which a lot of other countries have, where the rainwater is a separate system to the household water and the grey water, would cost an eye-watering sum of money. But this is something that our governments should have embarked upon back in like the 1950s.
Yeah, the problem is in this country, unlike some other countries, like in some other countries, governments change about, but they're all serious governments. Whereas in this country, we keep flipping to the Conservatives, whose role it is to dismantle all public infrastructure.
Yeah, all what Labour's
state
just done
infrastructure.
in their tenure in office, they just dismantle all that because they don't know how to create; they only know how to destroy. But it's a lot of work that needs doing. We need new.
Yeah, but I suppose the reason for not embarking on it is because, if it takes like 30 years, it's like, well, it'll never be completed because as soon as the Tories are back in, they'll just stop it.
I mean,
that's the problem, isn't it? But, but my argument there, if you change the system, you could have a stable government for 30 years that the balance of power will change within it, but it will be serious parties.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if the Tories ever entered into that coalition arithmetic, but then, tried to destroy things, their coalition partners wouldn't let them. So they would have to then become a serious party to hold power. So electoral reform, just in terms of the voting system, just changes so many things. It would allow for long-term investment.
Yeah. Tim's pointing out that they do actually have the system where they separate the grey water from the sewage in some areas. So thanks very much to Tim there. We do in many places, Graham. The big problem is builders connecting developments to the wrong system. That would not be good. One thing I noticed going to sort of new towns and new cities, expanding cities in, say, China, is they just stank. Like, they absolutely stank because the sewage system that they had put in place was just not up to the job. And one thing I'll say about British sewage system, even though it was created in the 1850s, it still keeps the smell away. You can't smell it walking down the street.
They also, when you have a new housing development, they do have to consider the everything that's connected to it, including sewage. Do you have the capacity to deal with the sewage?
Yeah.
Because whereas in some parts of the world they just build a load of houses. Oh, there's some land there. Let's build a load of houses there.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily make sure that all the infrastructure is in place to deal with it.
SimCity, it makes it out like it's a lot easier to do things like that than it actually is. They should make like a hyper-realistic SimCity where you've got to get planning permission and sewage pipes and electricity and before you can build. I always loved in SimCity that you could just spend $1 on a bulldozer and it would just destroy an entire football stadium or nuclear power station or whatever it was that you wanted to get rid of. $1 demolition fee. That was one of the more silly things about
I'm
SimCity.
pretty sure whatever the cost, bulldozing a nuclear power plant was fairly silly.
Well, I think if you did, you got radiation. Like you got like those little radiation symbols would pop up. But then you could set it so the disasters happened. So you could have like Godzilla come out and stomp all over your city at some point in the game.
See, I used to just play things like Civilization where the aim was to just stomp on things anyway.
Ryan says politics are like Legos. You mean Lego? Eventually you get a toddler that destroys everything. Other building blocks are available. Yeah, well, that's what you're getting in with Trump in America at the moment. But let's go back to
America won't recover from that for a long time.
Let's go back to the top sort of story here. The 16 and 17-year-olds getting the vote. So this actually brings
the mainstream media. It's not actually the biggest story.
Or us. No, I meant the top story is in we did it at the top of the show.
Yeah, what the mainstream media want to talk about.
I'm talking about it in a temporal way. It's just bringing England and Wales in line with what's already happening in.
No, England. Wales already have votes for 16s.
Wales and Scotland, do they already have?
Yeah, Scotland were the first.
And then Northern Ireland already have it as well. So it's just England.
England, do Northern Ireland. I'm not sure about Northern Ireland.
I thought it was England and Wales.
They have it in Wales and Scotland. They may do. I'm not sure. But yeah, it is bringing us in line with what exists around the rest of the. Like, if you remember the Scottish referendum, 16 and 17-year-olds could vote in that because it was a purely Scottish affair, and 16-year-olds could vote in Scottish elections.
Yeah.
Whereas the Brexit referendum was for 18 plus because that was across the whole of the UK.
So there's someone who could have voted in 2000 and
14 for the Scottish referendum.
They could have, and then wouldn't have been able. It depending on where their birthday was just in the wrong place.
Yeah, I mean, they're sort of 2 years apart. The referendum, I can't remember exactly.
But the Scottish referendum was after Glastonbury, and the
so it would have been just within 2 years.
Yeah, And,
you would have had that.
Someone could have voted in one, but not been allowed to vote in the other.
But you also had, I mean, those people still, they could have not voted in the Brexit referendum, but still voted in the following Holyrood elections.
Yeah. Well, a crazy time, wasn't it? From 2014, we had the Scottish referendum, we had the election in 2015, we had the referendum in 2016, we had an election in 2017, and then we had another election in 2019.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a run for democracy.
Yeah. And there was a lot of money went into it that we could have done without being allowed.
We could have done without the money? No, we could have done without spending it on
being allowed.
Yeah,
being allowed the money where it was coming from.
Yeah. So, but to go back to the story we were talking about earlier, what do you think Labour need to do now to grow that number? You said it was 26% who are going to vote for Labour in the next election.
They must address. Ultimately, they must address a communication strategy. I would, just get them to look at the front pages today, the headlines today. It's all about the votes for 16-year-olds, which was not a surprise. There was nothing. Now, although Labour did also promise to tackle foreign money in their manifesto, nonetheless, the way they're doing it was not set out in detail. So that's the big news from this bill, tackling foreign money. It's not votes for 16 and 17-year-olds, because it's not like, well, how are you going to do it? Like, there is no how you're going to do it. The only speculation on that is when will it come into force?
Yeah.
Because all we know is it'll be in force for the next general election, but we know it'll be in law. This law will have to pass before next May. Yeah. Otherwise, it will fall foul of the end of the session of Parliament. So given that they're introducing it in this session, means it has to be passed before next spring, really, or certainly by summer. So when does it then become law? It can't become law in time for next year, because you also have to give elections officers times to get up to speed with it and all the rest of it and get people registered. But it could come into force for 2027. But will it? Yeah. I don't know. That's the only area of speculation. No one's asking about that. Whereas, actually, to be fair, one Labour MP did ask that yesterday. He didn't get an answer then. But whereas the money for the clamping down on foreign donations, that was the big part of this bill.
Yeah.
It's by far and away the most impactful. It will have the most impact on elections. It's the one for which we didn't have the details in the manifesto. We just knew about the objectives, but not the details. So that should be the big news, but it's not. And why? Because it's popular.
Yeah.
So the newspapers that don't want a big Labour up are obviously not going to report on it. It'll be stuck on page 26. But even the papers that are either neutral or favourable towards Labour, it's not controversial.
No.
They need controversy, and it's not controversial. So the problem with uniting or unifying policies, Labour have to get those messages out themselves. They must look at their communication strategy seriously, and I don't think they are doing.
They've also relaxed the ID that is required for voting.
Oh, yeah.
So you can vote now with a bank card.
Yeah, I mean, what's happening here, and a Tory MP called it out, but tough. So Labour, I mean, really, there was never any evidence of fraud that voter ID stopped. Voter ID stopped eligible voters voting. Yes. That's all it did in their thousands.
Yeah.
So the obvious solution is just get rid of voter ID. But then Labour, I mean, that's a political hot potato, because it's like, the fraud. That doesn't happen. So Labour have gone, right, okay, we'll do this. We'll keep voter ID. Okay, good. And we'll just let you use pretty much anything as ID, including a note from your mum.
Yeah.
And then the Tories are going, no. So you can even use a bank card. So basically, as long as I will keep emphasising this, until these rules come online, you must still use the current list.
Yeah.
But as long as you've got something on you, because the problem we had at the last election, people were turning up. They knew they needed ID. Not everyone did, but a lot of people knew they needed ID. And they brought ID, but they didn't realise it was only they just thought if they had ID that was official ID, it would be fine. And it wasn't fine.
It wasn't.
So you had people turn up with veterans ID.
And they had
turned away.
Young people's Oyster cards were not allowed, but old people's Oyster cards were, or something.
But also young people's digital ID that lets them buy pints in the pub.
Yeah.
I mean, a young person would naturally think, well, this is official ID, right?
Yeah.
So if I can buy a pint with it, why can't I vote with it? So people, even when they knew they needed ID, didn't think they needed to look at a very restrictive list. So Labour are basically saying, do you know what? If it's ID, we're going to allow it, even a bank card.
Yeah,
So it won't even need to be photo ID.
No. Brad W, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Send Coldplay's Jumbotron to private schools. Thanks for that. We've got 7 minutes left to drop in some super chats if you want to get some confetti on the screen in a moment. But yeah, I was just going to say about the getting a note off your mum. I remember when I was in school, some kids who definitely weren't me went into the school office and pinched a bunch of letter-headed stationery and then proceeded to make letters saying that our friends were all 18 years old. So they could get a student card from USIC campus on Bold Street that said that they were 18.
Absolutely disgraceful.
Absolutely disgraceful. Whoever did it is definitely going to hell. Just going to go into the chat now.
The worst thing they ever did in our school
Go on.
was join the sixth form at our school. Well, we used to join Doncaster College because then we'd get the bus pass for free travel around South Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And then we'd leave and just join up with the sixth form at the school, which is where we wanted to be.
There you go. Free travel. I think kids should have free travel. I think everyone should have free travel.
They should have done. That wasn't lying. Well, it was lying. But it wasn't, no, because we enrolled, so we got it legitimately.
Yeah.
We just shouldn't have kept it.
I told you before that when I was in school for the first 2 years of high school, I got a bus pass, and in third year or year 9 as it became, I was then told that I wasn't allowed to have a bus pass anymore because I was only 2.9 miles away from the school.
Right.
So it's like a 6-mile round trip every day. I was supposed to freaking walk because they weren't going to pay for a bus pass.
3 miles.
And the cut off was 3 miles. They were like, sorry, you just took. And the mad thing is that people who lived 3 miles away, like literally up the road, used the same bus stop as me to get to school. So I'm waiting at the bus stop with people who had free bus passes, but I didn't get a free bus.
I mean, in my particular case, I wouldn't have not about them walking, but to be fair, I didn't really have to. In fact, both my primary and secondary school were both on the same street as me.
Yeah.
But I did actually technically increase my walking because I would walk to the other side of the village to like meet a mate, and then we'd both walk to school from the other side of the village. So I technically did walk several miles to school, even though I lived on the same street.
Fantastic. Chip says, so someone call that school? Oh, it was a long time ago. I don't think anyone will care anymore. Plus, I can't remember the name of the lad who did it.
In post academy times, it'll have a different name on it now. Your school.
We were never an academy.
I think school ended up as an academy.
No, we never were. We were a selective comp when I was there, and then technically, and now it's a grammar.
But it still kept the same name then.
Yeah, just a blue coat school.
Right.
I think it's like C of E or something. I don't think they put grammar in the title because that's sometimes a misnomer. So like we were talking about this on the chat the other day. That there's a load of private schools that have grammar in the name, but they're not a grammar school. They're a private school, and it's like, why are they allowed to have grammar in the name if you can't just pass an 11 plus and get in?
Yeah. What I would do. So if I were in charge of education, first of all, the private schools. I know you can't just abolish them completely, but I would get Ofsted to investigate. They'd have to do, visits, at least for safeguarding.
Yes.
But I would also, so you know how they get all these tax breaks, and they say, oh, it's because we're taking some poor kids as well. I would say no. Right? You're not a charity. You're not having any tax breaks at all. However, you will have to take in up to 5% of your cohort from local state-educated kids. And we will allow you to offset the costs on your tax bill.
Yeah.
I would do that instead.
That's good.
So that way, they could reduce their tax bill, but only what was strictly needed to take in kids. And they'd have to, 5% of those kids, students, 1 in 20 of all their kids would have to be effectively state paid effectively, because they would it's like you're gonna do it, but we'll offset it on your tax.
Yeah,
they could do that.
Might be. I'll just abolish them. I'll just get rid of all private schools.
Well, politically that probably be tricky, and then you probably would get a bit of an overloading on state schools. In all honesty,
you're saying that Ofsted are going to inspect private schools. I think that Labour are doing that. I think that's coming in.
I have not heard anything, but we will see. They should.
It's the plot of my movie, Class War. It's going to be about an 800-year-old private school that has its first Ofsted inspection, and it's like The Wicker Man meets 28 years later meets Midsummer.
It will be. They'll be like, what do you mean we can't bugger kids?
Oh, this is going to be way worse than that.
We're not allowed to do any more bagging.
And Ryan says free travel is good for all you city lot, but all transport is crap. Improve public transport in rural areas, then make it free. Well, how about you make it free and you improve it at the same time? Just that's the way it is. But also, I mean, I last weekend coming back from Liverpool, 3 a.m. from the city centre, I did a shared taxi. Hurrah! We now finally have shared taxis in this country, something that other countries have had for many, many years. So instead of it costing 18 quid to get home, it cost me 6 quid to get home. Ka-ching! And I don't see why, using the tech we've got at the moment, we can't revolutionise how buses work. I think we should have loads more minibuses and a lot fewer double-deckers. And double-deckers are ridiculous.
Well, you never know. We may get there. We may get there.
And they're horrible as well. Like, I don't like getting on a double-decker. Okay, so here's your choice, right? You're going to work. It's 8:30 in the morning, right? And you can either get on a double-decker bus with a bunch of screaming, swearing, spitting school kids, right? Or hear me out here, you can get an app that, you've got an app that brings a minibus that's just for people going to work. And there's no school kids on it at all. And it comes to your house and picks you up. And it's £1. Happy days.
I don't know, that's a bit exclusive, like.
No, it's not. It's what? It is not exclusive. You don't want kids on the bus. In America, they have school buses. We should have school buses.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we've only got 40 seconds left to drop another, 6 super chats in. Oh dear. I don't think we're going to do that, Phil. Never mind, we tried. You could turn See You Next Tuesday farms into museums. This is where the daily bumming happens, said Vendetta. Well, I mean, tourism, yeah, definitely. But also, you could make them functional schools. You could make them actual schools that taught how to be a nice person.
And the thing is as well, it would do no harm. I mean, what they say is sunlight's the best disinfectant. Would do no harm at all for the public to find out, like in a pretty big way, exactly what's going on in these schools.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I need to make
see the panic. They absolutely should, and it's something they could do immediately because all you need to do is hire a few extra officer inspectors, right? You do it immediately. You'll get a load of them going, oh, but they don't understand our systems. Yeah, because your systems are crap, mate. Yeah. So you will use our systems now. Yeah, it's fine. If they want to still, you don't have to change the way they have to teach. You just have to change the way they treat kids.
Yep.
It will just literally be all the safeguarding stuff.
Yeah. Tim Ballum says, Graham, minibuses, thank you very much for this super chat, mate. Graham, minibuses require more drivers per passenger than a double decker. Yeah.
Well, it depends how many's on it.
Yeah. I mean, the double deckers around here have about 5 people on them. I'm talking about rural areas. I mean, I'm not talking about like very, very busy London bus routes because I think that'd be a bit too mad. But out here in the sticks,
double decker out some roads around here, it'd be in the ditch.
Out here in the sticks, if I had an app and it said, all right, I want a minibus outside my house, and it comes up, it'll arrive in 20 minutes, and then it picks up passengers all the way back into town. It does the route automatically, and so you don't know which way you're going to go. You don't know what time you're going to turn up in town. Doesn't matter. It only costs £1. I don't care. That's what I want. We do things in the most kind of arse-forward way sometimes, and I'm just like, there's a better way of doing this. I'm pretty sure there's a better way of doing this. I don't know why we're doing it this way. Yeah. Liam is saying double-decker buses, when filled, create maximum efficiency for transporting the public with the least amount of emissions. Well, I think that's
fine in a city.
Yeah, I think what you're looking for there is a tram. Tramways, I'm up for tramways.
Trams are good. Yeah,
trams are good.
Trams.
Yeah.
And in Manchester, I remember them in Manchester and Sheffield.
Yeah. Chris C says, we have had 2 fully electric buses added to that route. That serves my area. Love how quiet they are and the AC. That does sound very nice. I like that. Nick says, latest Brexted report, freedoms lost, trade blocked, and red tape piling up. Leadership response, nothing to see here.
Yeah, but that's because they're trying to hide it. We know that they're doing stuff behind the scenes. Well, it's not even behind the scenes. They keep announcing things.
They do, including a train to Germany. Yay!
To Berlin, yeah.
But is it going to happen?
Well, who knows?
Because of
But at
Brexit,
the
it
same
makes it
time,
very difficult.
You know, again, it's all signs of like working more, you know, and we've got like we're working more closely with Germany and France, who are literally the engines of the EU, really.
Yeah.
So
What we need is to carve out a special exemption for British people, so that when we're going through passport control into our own continent, we're not subjected to the same rigmarole
Well,
as someone coming from Venezuela
we are getting that.
or Tuvalu.
We are getting that.
We're not. We still have to have our passport stamped. We need to stop that.
No.
What?
Once the e-gates are set up,
Yeah,
there
but
won't be any more stamping of passports.
But the e-gates are only going to be set up in certain circumstances. This Germany deal, they've said that it's going to be for people who have to travel to Germany regularly for business or visiting family.
Yeah.
They'll be able to use the e-gate, but if you're just going on a one-off holiday, then you won't. It's a bit of a fudge at the moment.
Because it's been phased in, because it's going to be absolute chaos when they first open. I mean, there are some e-gates already, I gather, but I think it's because it will be absolute chaos if everyone just uses them at once. But I think they are phasing it in, so the idea is you will just be able to go through the e-gate. Because the EU want that anyway. It's tidier for them.
But we're still on the same rules when we visit the EU as people from Zimbabwe. They get probably Zimbabwe is a bad example. The US
in that
Canada.
EU summit, for which there hasn't been details that we might not be, but because what was announced in the summit was largely aspirational, we'll have to see what happens. But we may get an exemption.
Yeah.
We may get to use the EU queues.
Tim Ballum, have you ever been in a minibus out in the sticks, Graham? Change of underwear required at end of journey. Mate, I've been on many buses in Papua New Guinea. I mean, if you want to get out in the sticks, oh my God, that's the sticks, mate. Yes, I have. Yes, I've been in many buses in Nigeria where they call them maulers because they crash so much and so often. I saw a crash happen while I was on this one journey that I took from Lagos to Calabar. The guy was driving on the wrong side of the bloody road. It was chaos.
Is that because of the shade? They do that in countries that are really hot, don't they? They just drive on the shaded side.
Oh, no. This was a motorway, and they were driving on the wrong side of the motorway through a gap in the barrier, which had been created by an earlier crash that had taken the barrier out. And they went down into the dip and then up the other side. And they were driving towards oncoming traffic at about 70 miles an hour because there was a burning truck on the side that we were on, and we couldn't get past that. And they weren't going to hang around in a traffic jam. So they just did that. And it was fucking terrifying. Anyway, Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. There are now battery trains, some branch lines in London, which is great. And also a really great idea, because what do trains do at night? Bugger all, they just sit there. And they can charge while they're on an area that's got actual overhead power cables. They can charge as they move. So yeah, having batteries on trains allows them. So I think we saw about this the other day. I was about coming back from Liverpool. They have to change over, I think, in Huddersfield. If you get the Transpennine Express, it changes over from being electric to being diesel. So if you've got a battery thing, you can have it charging as you get from Liverpool to Huddersfield. And then when you get into deepest, darkest Yorkshire, where they don't have things like electricity, then you can switch to the batteries.
We invented electricity.
Vented it. You don't need to vent electricity.
We invented.
Oh, you invented? You invented electricity?
I don't actually know that.
Are you just taking credit? I thought it was Michael Faraday. I thought it was Benjamin Franklin with a key on a kite.
No, they all did important work, of course.
Yes, indeed. God's own country, apparently. Apart from Wales as well. I don't know. Chris C says
county. No, Yorkshire is God's county. If Wales want to claim that they're God's country, that's up to them. We understand we're a county, not a country.
Surely if God made the world, we're all God's country.
In fact, Yorkshire Day was actually a political protest. It actually came out of political protest.
There's a Yorkshire Day, you get a day.
Yeah, August 1st is coming up.
I thought they might give you a week or a month or a year. That would have been even worse.
No, we just need one day. We don't have
Yorkshire
to be
hour
about it. But it came out of a political protest, because in the 70s, before I was born, but in the 70s, see, there were always 4 parts to Yorkshire. And there are 4 parts to Yorkshire now, but it's different parts. They changed it.
Yes.
So you've now got North Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, like the East Riding of Yorkshire. Whereas you used to have the East, West and North Riding, and then the City of York. And they changed it, and people in Yorkshire didn't like the changes. So they had Yorkshire Day where there's a
Piss
protest.
off. What, you're saying that
think people have
Yorkshire
got used
people
to it now.
didn't like change?
Yeah.
No, I couldn't see that happen.
So that's what started Yorkshire Day. Now we just eat parking cake
Oh, good.
and Wensleydale.
What's parking cake? Is that named after a rebel?
Parking. No, it's just a cake in Yorkshire.
Isn't there like a Lambert
Nice.
cake that's named after a rebel who tried to usurp the kingdom?
Very
Tim-
possibly. You're the
Tim
historian.
Ballum, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Tim's being very, very generous this afternoon. Thank you, Tim. The trains from Paddington to Cheltenham are bi-mode. Bi-mode. Do you know what bi-mode means? Maybe they're the ones with batteries. I don't know.
I think he means is it like a hybrid train?
The ones to Liverpool, the hybrid trains, because they're electric a little bit of the way and the diesel a bit of the way, I think. Egg. What bloody hell? I can't read today. Eric, not egg. Sorry, mate. Eric is saying, "Lol, I slept in Lord Armstrong's graveyard last Saturday. His mansion, Cragside, had the first lightning powered by hydro or something. Lighting. Sorry, not lightning. God, I'm finding it really hard to read this.
What, a graveyard? So a graveyard was the first place to use
Yeah,
powered
hydro
lighting.
to make lighting light.
A graveyard.
Yeah, bi-mode switches between electric and diesel. Ah, okay, fair enough. The same as the new class of 805s, 807s that Avanti have between
Liam
London and
is
Birmingham.
trying to start the War of the Roses by saying Lancashire is superior. If
It is.
Lancashire's so superior,
won.
right, mate,
It would have won.
Why?
It
It
would
did
have.
do.
It
That
would
was a
have
long
won the
time
War of the
ago.
Roses.
why doesn't it have its own cricket ground then? Because Lincolnshire County Cricket Ground ain't in Lincolnshire. Lancashire. I mean, sorry.
Lancashire.
Lancashire.
Is that because it's in Manchester?
Yeah.
But that's historic Lancaster. It's
Ah,
still
but
the
it's not.
Duchy of Lancaster.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not.
But it is. It is.
Lancashire.
So Liverpool
Not
is as
Lancashire.
well.
It's greater Manchester. It's a different
Hey,
county.
listen, if I die without leaving a will, then King Charles gets all my bloody money, doesn't he? He gets all my worldly
but don't-
goods, the
Don't get
bastard.
nine. Don't get nine.
Because I'm still the Duchy of the historic Duchy of Lancaster in Liverpool.
Yeah, well, there you go then. So who really won?
Well, we definitely won because Richard III, he carked it. He got a
But-
sword up his bum.
But in Yorkshire, you don't lose all your worldly possessions to the king.
Sword up his bum, and they built a car park on top of him. That's how we know that you didn't win.
Yeah.
So sorry, but yeah. Also, we had the Beatles from Lancashire.
Oh yeah, there's no one suitably famous from Yorkshire. I'll grant you that.
No,
we've got
it's very true.
like Victoria Wood. She's the only decent Yorkshire person.
But
ever
no
to-
one's heard of Victoria Wood in Japan
Okay.
or anywhere that's not the UK.
No, I'll give you a due. Yorkshire's not very good at producing suitably famous people. We don't like to talk about Jeremy Clarkson, for example.
Ugh. Is he a Yorkshireman?
He is, and Geoffrey Boycott.
Ugh.
So
Is he a
exactly, we don't. We've got
I'm gonna
Sean Bean,
boycott.
but he is just an actor. I don't actually know what Sean Bean's like as a person. So
He seems like a nice guy
he does.
who
but
likes
he's
to
an actor, so
die
we can
over and
know,
over
but
and over again.
He's good at dying. Yeah.
Christopher Ball says the two houses married, and that's how the War of the Rose was ended. Yeah, but the boy from Lancashire married the girl from Yorkshire. Elizabeth of York, was it?
I guess. So.
Henry the Seventh's wife and the mother of Henry the Eighth.
Yeah.
There you go, lots of Henrys. And when Charles dies, it goes to Will. Yeah, my will go to Will. If I don't make a will, my will go to Will.
Yeah.
And that isn't my will. I'm taking my free will. Oh, we gave the world Patrick Stewart and Brian Blessed. Our work here is done. I'll give you that. Okay.
Well, again, they're actors. So.
Yeah, what's wrong with actors?
There's nothing wrong with actors. I'm just saying it's not like. I mean, there's. Yeah. I mean,
Did you hear the
in grand
story
scheme of
about
things.
our friend Mike meeting with Jeremy Corbyn? Did you hear this story?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
He said, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm a cartoonist." And he said, "That's not a real job."
Yeah, says the career politician.
Yeah. Tim says the reason rail electrification is so expensive is because the stop-start rollout causing uncertainties in the industry. Yeah, and also you've got to try and put electrical cables on top of a track that's being used 90% of the daytime.
Yeah.
You've got to run out in the night, middle of winter,
Pretty much.
and put up some electrical cables, and then you've got to put everything back by 6 a.m. for the trains to run again. It's like the maddest thing. And it's why HS2, if they just built it as a normal bloody rail line instead of trying to be all fancy and make it the speed of sound, would have been such a great idea, because they could have put all the trains on that for a little bit, the cargo trains, the fast commuter trains, the regional trains, and fixed up the West Coast Main Line. They could have just shut it for a year and just fucking worked on it.
How would that have made Boris Johnson's dad any money?
Well, that's very true. Why am I so bright? Oh, I've got to sort out my contrast. It's looking like a bloody light bulb there, mate. Okay. Phil, before we go, Anne Phillips says, Patrick Stewart and Brian Blessed are not just actors, Phil. Yeah. They are national treasures. There you go.
And actors.
You've got two national treasures and you're not even interested.
That's fine, but they are still just actors. Like, that's what they are.
Wes Wheel is. I spoke about this in the morning show, Wes, but like there was a sign last night at the football, England versus Sweden, and someone was holding up a sign that said ABBA greater than Beatles.
I do prefer ABBA to the Beatles, I have to say.
Get out.
Personal preference.
Typical Yorkshireman. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Oi! Henry VIII was Welsh. Sorry, Henry the Seventh. Henry the Seventh. Sorry, I'm misreading my Roman numerals there. Was he?
Well, it might have been, because Wales stretched across most of England at some point in the past. It's not. I mean, the borders as we have them now are not how they've been for 2,000 years. There was a time when Wales and England have always been a bit of a movable feast. There was a time when it really stretched all the way across. So I don't know what it looked like was it in the 14th century that he would have been about, Henry VII?
15th century.
Really? Okay. But I don't know what the map of England and Wales would have looked like. Let's see.
I was born in Pembroke Castle. In Pembrokeshire. So yeah, he was Welsh.
What year was he born?
He was born in 1457, according to the Googles.
1457.
And he won in the Battle of Bosworth.
Hang on, I was just trying to see here.
Elizabeth of York, that's who he married.
Oh no. Actually, looking at it, Wales back then did look much like it sort of does now. So
I don't think Liverpool was ever part of Wales. We sound a bit Welsh.
I think it stretched across, if you go from Wales sort of across up towards Lincolnshire. But that must have been some considerable time ago.
It is a bit mad. There's no train line from North Wales to South Wales. You've got to go through England.
That is a bit mad.
David,
there's a bloody big mountain in the way, I suppose.
Yeah. David Faulkner, thank you very much for the 15 Hong Kong dollarinos. All public buses in cities on the mainland are now EVs. In China, I guess. China's just got... It was one of the points made in the stupid council meeting that I was forced to watch earlier this week here in Durham. One of the refuckers said, "Oh, but China aren't doing anything about climate change, so why should we?" And
it's like, well, they are. They're like the world leaders in it.
Jonathan Elmer, he's a Green, my councillor, he stood up and said, actually, China's leading the world now in the EV revolution because it's like way cheaper. It's like way cheaper.
Yeah. They did it not because they're like tree hookers. They did it for energy security.
Yeah.
So that they wouldn't be so dependent on America when America decided to start a trade war.
Yep. And also, if there's any kind of instability in the world, so a rebel leader in Saharan Africa can get together a bunch of knobheads and they can go and literally change the price of oil in this country. Yeah. What? A gang of like 7 people with AK-47s shouldn't be allowed to affect the price of heating our homes here in the UK. And to allow that system to continue, I think, is just bonkers. And that's the argument that I think we should be using to undermine the refuckers who used to be quite green. There's footage of Richard Tice just a couple of years ago bragging about solar panels.
Yeah, they do. They use them. Rupert Lowe has them on his farm. I know he's not Reform anymore. I see Cardiff only had 1 F back then.
Oh dear.
There's been an inflation in Fs.
It's got an extra F.
You got an extra F at some point.
Brilliant. Well done.
This map goes from 1455 to 1487, so it is the War of the Roses map.
But you know, some of the words
in Cardiff.
we have in English that have an extra letter at the end, an extra double letter or an E at the end. That was just because printers needed to put an extra, so it was justified. So they just extended words and put extra letters at the end of them just so the justification worked.
Oh, right, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay, right. Well, we're going to leave it at that. So I just want to say thank you so much to Phil for doing the agenda with me. Phil, I'm away next week, so I don't know if you want to do the agenda on your own, or maybe you get Mike Dix on to have a chat with. He might be more sensible than me. He's probably more sensible than me. But that's up to you. Yeah, I'll be back at 9:30.
Where are you off to?
What? I'm just won't be here.
You travelling the world again?
I'm not going to Bougainville. That's in 2 years' time. Don't worry. I just won't be able to do the show, unfortunately. Yeah, I'll just say thank you so much for watching. Also, thanks for all the lovely chat and the super chats, especially. Thank you. Give us a like on the way out. Let's get the like numbers up. We're doing quite well on likes at the moment, but we'd like to get them. 75% of the people watching should like it. That always helps the algorithm out. And like I say, I'll be back at 9:30 tonight with the Friday Night Social. So please join us for that. And until then, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.